Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast. I am so excited for this episode today. I have another Detroiter. Okay, I've
Yes.
had a few Detroiters on this podcast, and we always got to represent.
Gotta represent. Gotta represent.
Okay, so we have Miss Morgan Chavis.
Chavis.
Chavis. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No
Morgan
problem.
Chavis. And she is going to be talking to us today about basically how to make your personal brand more personal. And I love this because I feel like a lot of times we have a business, right? We start a service business and we want to put our business out there. And we have a logo made up, and then everything leads with the business name and the logo. And we don't know who you are. And so we're going to talk to Morgan today about her journey and how she was able to actually make her personal brand more personal and how that worked out for her. And really talk about how we can really create a story and a vision for ourselves and our business to make that more powerful connection. So let me give you a little background on Miss Morgan. She's again a proud native of Detroit. Detroit.
Detroit.
Mother, wife. She's an HBCU alumni of Hampton University. And after her degree, she started a corporate career at Target. She climbed the corporate ladder at Amazon in staffing management and DEI program management. Through her formal studies, she landed in the corporate arena. Her passion from childhood, though, has been artistry and cosmetology. She obtained her cosmetology license alongside her business studies while at Hampton and started a business, Lusso Salon, in 2019. After 2 years, Morgan said deuces to corporate America to embrace full-time entrepreneurship. So this transition really helped her to launch her second business, which is Lusso Sweets,
That's correct.
and a nonprofit organization, Lusso Gives. So she's got a conglomerate now, and the Lusso brand has continued to grow. And she's now offering one-on-one business coaching, specializing in startup growth and people leadership strategies for service-based businesses. She's made her mark in the business coach arena through motivational speaking and her podcast, Seriously CEO, and her book, Leap Off the Ladder. Another phenomenal guest. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be here with us today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for that amazing introduction. It's so funny. People are always like, goodness, you all over the place. How does this all come together? And I feel like that introduction kind of sums it up perfectly. Thank you.
Absolutely. You got to let the people know.
Gotta
Okay.
let them know.
Part of branding is about speaking out about what you do and the value you bring and really advocating for yourself, promoting yourself, and being a little bit braggadocious. So, I'm about to talk it all the way up. We're not missing nothing. Okay. So I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Yes, I love that you brought up like being okay with that brag moment sometimes. Of course, we all want to operate from a place of humility, right? Like we don't want to come across like we're not humble and like we're not grateful. But at the same time, especially in this space of being a business coach, you got to have some receipts. So I always tell people when they ask the question, like, so what do you actually do and how does this all tie together? I always say that Lusso Salon and Lusso Suites are my receipts behind being a business coach. I am a business coach who actually owns and is actually operating a business versus just being able to guide you along on a hypothetical path.
I love that. This is not based in theory. This is based on real life.
Real
Real
life
life.
experiences. Yes.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? That's something that I feel a lot of people, I know a lot of my clients, they tend to discount that. They tend
Mhm.
to discount like real life stories and real life experiences. And I'm here to say, bring those to the forefront because that's what's going to make you special. That's what the people want to know about. That's what's going to make the connection. It's like, what have you been through on a
Absolutely.
personal level? So tell us a little bit. What have you been through, Morgan?
I've been through some things, okay? It's funny that you say sharing those real life experiences because I feel like so often in my coaching sessions, I'm talking about mistakes that I've made. So what I've been through and how this all started was truly just my absolute passion for the beauty industry and cosmetology. I jumped into my corporate career, as you mentioned during the introduction, right as soon as I graduated from Hampton University, and I did well, but I never left hair behind. I was working full time for Target and then later for Amazon and still working in a hair salon on the weekends and on my free time, still servicing clients because I just could not let it go. I absolutely love it. And so I said, you know what? This corporate career of mine is going to be a means to an end. This is going to be the way that I fund my business. This is going to be the way that I fund my passion. So that's truly how I chose to start. I opened Lusso Salon back in 2019 as a newlywed. People thought I was crazy at a very humble sublet location. And I built my team. I networked my behind off and met other amazing and talented women in the beauty industry that were willing to take a chance on a salon with zero clients and with zero brand recognition at the time. And they took a chance with me. We had a humble start and we did amazing in the first 2 quarters of operating, and then we were hit by the pandemic.
Mm,
So I always say that the pandemic was a blessing and a curse for my business because the beauty industry was completely shut down, as you know. And as being such an infant of a business at that time, it was detrimental. But when we reopened, so many people took that as an opportunity to value self-care services again. Is one of those things of like when something's taken away, now you see how valuable it was to you. So we were flooded with new clients after the pandemic ended, and we created a safe plan to reopen. And it was really amazing for us. I think it was nothing but up from there. So I would say if I could talk about one of the biggest challenges that I experienced early on in my business, it was certainly surviving the pandemic as a startup.
yeah. And you know what? Some of the key things that are sticking out to me with that story is when you talk about how you networked and you got people to come and work with you, work for you. That they didn't come to work for Lusso, the brand. They came to work for Morgan, the person.
Right, right. And now today, even with a mature business, I still hear the same thing. So last year, I opened Lusso Suites, our second location. And upon opening Lusso Suites, I had to do the same thing again. I'm in people's DMs. Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm the CEO of the Lusso brand. We have a brand new location, Lusso Suites. I was giving people tours of Lusso Suites before we even had drywall. I'm talking about showing people studs and plumbing and saying, this could be your suite right here. And people decided to commit to me instead of this drywall and paint and pretty things that they could see. It's about like, wow, that energy is infectious. Wow, you were able to build trust with me, or even just telling them like, hey, the beauty industry is you eat what you kill. Let me help you. Let me support your brand. Let me cross promote your brand. That's what makes this place different. And it's to this day that my suite renters will come to me and say, oh, we're here because of you, girl. We could go to the suites up the street, but we like you.
Mm,
And sometimes I get mixed opinions about that, right? Of like, oh, you're the CEO. Nobody should see you. No one should
mm.
know you. You should be behind the brand, and you should be invisible. That's a strategy that some people have for their businesses. I have the exact opposite strategy. Every single one of my suite renters has my personal phone number. Every single one. And I've gotten the question of like, well, how is that scalable? How can you continue to do that as you grow? I will, and I'm going to make myself as accessible as I can within realistic realms. But the fact that I'm not a stranger to them means something.
Yeah, and I think that investment in them, they see that you care, and they it makes them want to work harder for you, to not let you down, to make you proud, right? And sharing in your vision,
Hmm.
right? I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about, right? We start a business and it's like, "What's your vision?" I don't know, I'm just trying to get clients. Well, what's the long term goal? Why would anybody buy into that if you want them to work for you or you want to get client? The clients need to know the vision too, so they can see how, it all makes sense. It all plays a part. And so I feel like sharing that is also part of your personal brand, right? Sharing why you want to see the world in that way in the future, why you're starting this business, right? What's driving you? And a lot of times that stuff is rooted in the same people
Right.
that you're trying to attract.
Yes. I firmly believe that I am not separate of the brand. I am Lusso CEO. I am the brand. And I carry that with me everywhere I go. I think that, especially when you're in an industry that's oversaturated, right? The beauty industry is oversaturated. Something has to set you apart. Something has to make people say, why do I choose you versus homegirl up the street who's doing the same thing? And for me, it's some very distinct things about the Lusso brand that are a part of what I find to be important. I talk about it in my book a little bit too, Leap Off the Ladder, where I kept a little black book, is what I called it. There's a chapter called A Little Black Book. And in that, I talk about all of the different salons that I've worked in, and all of the different beauty businesses that I've encountered. I would record what I liked about them and what I did not like about them. Um, and so when it was time for me to make a plan for my own business, and when it was time for me to say, this is how I want the Lusso brand to flow, I went back to that little black book and said, you know what? I didn't like this. Oh, I love the salon owner who did that. Let me implement that. I took bits and pieces from everywhere. And I encourage my clients to do the same thing with their businesses. Maybe your plan is to open a restaurant. When you go out to eat, you should be analyzing every single interaction at every single brand and saying, what of this resonates with me? So that what your personality is portrays through the business that you put in front of people.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Because at the end of the day, yes, like you said, I feel like almost every, I won't say every, a lot of industries are also oversaturated, right? Look at the bread aisle. You ever walk down? You're up north, but in down south we have a store called Publix, a grocery store. You ever walk down that wine aisle in Publix?
Look, I mean, there's a
Oh
million
my
different
god!
brands, right? But they all millionaires.
Yes, and so I love that like the fact that it's oversaturated. I feel like I don't want to hear that as a reason why you can't, because at the end of the day, it could be oversaturated all it want. You not in there. You the only one. You are one of one. And so you can still come in there because there's some people waiting for you. They see all of these things. They're like, oh, that's okay. That's man. I'll settle for this. And then here comes you with the juice.
Right.
They
Right.
they're waiting on you to
And
show
we
up.
have to be unapologetic to show up in that space. I see in the comments talking about making yourself available, right? And making yourself available to the client. It does make you stand out. That human aspect of it. I am not a celebrity. I am not this untouchable being just because I'm a business owner. I'm just me. And I think that social media, right, has so much to do with our branding and how we get in front of people. And so I always feel like it's interesting when have like this social media face and then this regular face. I've had a lot of people to tell me, like, oh, why don't you have a personal page? I am the personal page. The Lusso brand is me. So on my page, you're not just going to find me advertising my business. You're not just going to find come get a suite or book a coaching session or come visit my salon. You might see me dropping my daughter off at band. You might see, oh, this is what I whipped up in the kitchen tonight. Or you might see a snap of, we went on date night. It was fabulous. This is where we went. I want people to remember that as the CEO of your brand, people want to know a little bit about who's behind all of this and what's important to you, what resonates to you. I think we can't be afraid to show that.
I love that so much. Let me tell you why. Because I feel like that's similar to the point I always make about when you're sharing content on social media and you're going to share a couple tips. Here's how to blah, blah, blah. Step one, do this. Step two, boo boo. We can Google that,
Yeah.
right? We want to know you. We want to know what you did. What did you eat for dinner? Right? That's why those stupid food pics do so well. People
They
hate
do.
it. The people hate it like, oh, food, but it works because people are nosy and they feel like they know what their hairstylist ate for dinner. They feel like they know more about this person they're trusting with their hair. It seems a little like it has nothing to do with the other, but it's about human connection. And I think
Mhm.
that's the piece that a lot of us are missing when it comes to like trying to sell something, trying to build a business, right? You are not giving more of who we are. We're giving what we think they want, which is the facts, the how to. But they want to know who you are so they can feel like connected to you. They want to feel that connection because if I see you dropping off your kid, oh, my kid does band too. What instrument does your kid play? We play clarinet in this house, right? And then now there's another layer to our relationship, and it goes a little bit deeper than, oh, I just rent my chair from her.
Mhm.
I don't really know her like that.
Right. And I think it also helps us to establish some brand trust. When people see this is a real person, and this is really her means to feeding her family. This is her means to living her life. I think it makes people more connected, and it gives them the trust to be a part of what it is that you're doing. And that trust becomes super important in a multitude of ways, especially with my nonprofit Lusso Gives. Right? There's so many different scams and crazy stuff going on out here that you almost feel like pensive to donate to something or to give to something because you just don't know where it's really going. So when we bring it back to our topic of putting you into your branding, as that pertains to charitable giving, you have to be willing to show people where their money is going. What is it that I gave to, and what is this initiative, and what do you actually do? Being able to step into that uncomfortable sometimes space of, let me show you what I'm doing behind the scenes so that you're bought in. It just gets people to feel like they are a part, and you begin to build a community and a conglomerate versus just, this is a store I stop by to grab my shampoo every now and again.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Trust is so important when it comes to doing this thing and in anything in life in general. People got to trust you. And that brings me around to the point of like a lot of times, and I know this is something I did, right? When I was starting my business 10 years ago, I told all of my friends, hey, don't post no craziness. Don't tag me no nonsense on Facebook. I have a brand now.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
I have a brand now, right? And I was basically just trying to hide certain parts of me because I felt like my clientele would look down on that and they wouldn't pay me my money. And so I created a persona. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, island girl from Barbados slash hood girl going up in Detroit. It was Melanie Aldani, the professional resume writer. Here's a tip number one. Here's a tip
The
number.
whole change up, okay?
And so, now I'm like, yo, I don't have energy because it did take energy to be like, hey, don't tag me in that, right? Hey, oh, we went out on my cute. Don't post that. And it's like a lot of energy to try to be this other version or other made up person that you feel like the world wants you to be, versus just showing up as who you are and attracting the people that resonate with who you are, love you for who you are, versus the people that think they know who you are, but they're getting bamboozled the whole time because that's not really who you are. That's
Honey,
that's
yes.
mm,
I have been disappointed before of attending. I love a networking event. I love a sign me up for the women's empowerment brunch. Sign me up for the charitable event where you're paying for your plate. I love those types of things. I know some people hate it, but I absolutely love it. And I can say I have been disappointed before of attending an event, knowing that someone is going who maybe you've been following for a while, and you meet them in person, and it's like, this cannot possibly be the same person that's TikToking and dancing all behind the camera. And then you get in front of them and it's like they can barely communicate. They can't, it's not translating.
mm,
One thing that I would love to hear someone say about me behind my back would be, she is the same no matter where you met her. I would, if I could turn around, if I could be a fly on the wall and people say, have you ever met Morgan Chavis, Lusso CEO? What do you think about her? I would love to hear she's real, she's genuine, she's authentic, she gonna tell it like it is. She's honest. Like those are the things that I want to hear about me personally, about Morgan. And then when we say, well, what would I like to hear about the Lusso brand? I want to hear those same things. Oh,
mm,
they're honest. They're not gonna take advantage of you in there. They're good people. They they're down to earth. It's not a suck up environment. It's so comfortable but still luxurious. Like those same adjectives, right? Those same description words. I want those to be described about me and about my brand. So I got to marry those two things together. I have to live the way that I want people to see my brand.
mm. Yes, this is it. This the sauce right here, y'all.
Look, you can take me from chicken wing to caviar. We gonna go all the way.
This the sauce. This is the sauce. And you know what's funny about that? I posted a post this morning on LinkedIn, and one of my old mentees commented, "This is hilarious because I could totally hear exactly how you said those first two lines because it's the same. It is what it is. I am who I am." I said, what can I say? I am who I am. It is what it is. And that's something else too. I think a lot of people when it comes to social media and like how they talk and how they show up on camera or when they write captions, it's just a different tone, a different vibe than if you would have just said it out your mouth. And then
Yes,
it comes across like if you speak all prim and proper online and then somebody meets you and you got a little twang and it's like, oh, okay, you a little different
right,
in real
right.
life. And I think a lot of times we don't write how we speak. We write at a certain standard, but we speak a little more relaxed. And I feel like
Mhm.
more of the relaxed version of ourselves need to be put out versus the more polished, perfect version. Because again, it's just that authenticity piece is important and the trust building, right? Because at the end of the day, are you who you are? Because now I don't know what else have you been fronting about. Like, is what else is not really?
What else is not kosher? And I would, so I think this can be a little controversial, right? Because some people may feel like, well, no, you're in a professional environment and you should, pull your tie up to your neck sometimes. And sometimes you should let your hair down. I think that what we are both trying to say here is that you got to meet in the middle somewhere and find you. So if that pull your tie up to your neck moment makes you uncomfortable and makes you feel like you're in robot mode and you're not really, you're just going through the motions, then maybe that's not the right space for you. Maybe you're not comfortable where you are. Maybe you're presenting yourself outside of who you really are. And then the opposite can be true. If those moments where you have let your hair down, you're not proud of, Well, then now we need to go the other way. We need to figure out where is that space. And I think that there are certain responsibilities that you take on when you become an entrepreneur, right? And finding that balance is one of them. If you don't want to pull your tie up to your neck ever, and if you don't want to pull yourself away from that hair down space and present yourself a certain way, maybe entrepreneurship is not your space. If that's too much of a sacrifice for you, that's a part of the calling, right? Taking on your brand and assigning some adjectives to it and living to those adjectives. Honest, if that's one of them. Real, if that's one of them. Quality, if that's one of them. Luxury, if that's one of them. Punctual, if that's one of them. If you're not willing to apply those same adjectives to you, then this ain't your space.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely a balance for sure. And I guess for me, I feel like when I say be authentic, I feel like some people take that as be rude, be disrespectful, be unapologetically just too raw and real. You can still be who you are with kindness, right? With some tact. You don't necessarily that doesn't mean you have to be like this rah rah. I'm gonna say what's on my mind all the time. You don't have to say, you could be thinking it, but this may not be the time and place to say that. Or you could say that, but let's pick our words. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. And that's something that I'm also learning too. Even in my marriage, I'm learning to pick my words, child.
Yes, in all relationships, right? Same thing in business. So, um, I think this is a perfect segue to talk about customer feedback, client feedback. So, your reviews, right? Whether you have a brick and mortar business or whether you are offering a virtual service, your reviews mean everything. How many times have you gotten a review and somebody is just lying through their teeth? And they have made up a whole alternate experience than what they truly had. And if you are a service-based entrepreneur, I'm sure you can relate, right, to a review where you're like, "Now that is just not how that went." So to your point of being authentic and still being yourself and still being true to you, it doesn't mean that you have to do that by slaying others or by being harsh or being cruel or being unprofessional. When you respond to that review in that moment, you might not be able to be like, "Now, girl, you know that's not that's not what went down." It is okay to have on your professional hat, right? It is okay to choose your words wisely. It is okay to be refined. And that doesn't mean you're being fake. It just means you're showing up how you need to for your brand. And you can
Hmm.
still be you in that. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges with inserting you and inserting your personality
Yeah.
into your branding is how do I insert myself without giving too much, having too much access and availability, right? I saw the comment about your availability and your access is going to change just as your business needs change. I think that's where that balance comes in, right? And we have to work on that throughout the entire matriculation of our entrepreneurship journeys and of our leadership journeys, whether it be that you work for another company or you have your own, refining that you, especially in moments of controversy or in moments of adversity or challenges in your business, is something that we all have to grow through day to day.
You know what came to mind as you were talking? How we want to show up as who we are and infuse ourselves into our business, right? But unfortunately, you could risk infusing some of your flaws into your business.
Ooh, girl.
And
Facts.
how do we now differentiate, right? This is who I am, and we're all flawed. We all have our, things that we need to improve upon. And so when it's time to now infuse ourselves into the business, I would love to hear your thoughts around, like, would you recommend trying to infuse all of our strengths and good qualities? Would you know, think about what do we do with those flaws? Do we know what the flaws are to be able to manage that? Like, tell me a little bit about your thoughts around that.
Yes. I know you see me cheesing like a chess cat because I'm trying not to laugh. Okay, so I would say one of my biggest flaws and one of my biggest personal growth areas is my patience. I am so impatient. I honestly cannot think of one person in my brain who is more impatient than I am, and it's really bad. Okay, so when to answer your question, how that translates at the Lusso brand, we pride ourselves in being a no wait salon. Now, and I'm going to always tell it like it is, right? In the Black beauty industry, that is not something that you hear often. We have a stereotype, right? Of showing up to the salon, your stylist got three other people sitting there with caps on their head and their hair is wet and they sitting there waiting. They got to order DoorDash because they hungry and they've been there for hours and no one has touched their head in 90 minutes. We pride ourselves in the fact that we just don't do that. We have a 15-minute wait commitment. My salon building does not even have a waiting area because I don't want to give the impression that we want to allow you to wait. And that is something that we have to manage in our culture of if you're past 15 minutes, our protocol is that we call the client and we ask them, are you available to come in at X, Y, and Z a time instead of where you originally were scheduled? So I think to answer your question in short, yes, we should infuse our growth areas and our flaws into our business by addressing them in a positive
Mm.
way. So I've addressed my impatience in my business by making it a part of the brand that people don't wait because I hate waiting. So instead of making that a negative, or instead of making it something that frustrates me, or again, kind of back to that little black book concept, I don't like going to a business where I have to wait. So, how do I make my business satisfy me in that way? So,
Mm.
again, I think this is one of those ways of infusing me and my personality into my brand. Don't make me wait. I'm gonna just leave. I don't want to spend no money no more because I'm waiting. I'm irritated. So how do I create an environment that Morgan would love?
That's it right there.
Yes.
Yes, love it. I love that. That I mean, it's so clever and it's still true to you. And you're twisting it into a positive.
Hmm.
That's a Lusso brand. Morgan, you better hey, somebody
Don't make me
somebody
wait.
better recognize. Okay, so I want to know a little bit about the name Lusso. Where's that come from? Because when I first, was introduced to you, I saw your name and then I got an email from Lusso and I was like, who's this? I don't know what this is. I didn't make the connection. And then when you showed up, your name was Lusso on the thing. I'm like, Morgan, okay, what? Huh? Who Lusso sounded like a name, so I thought it was someone's like last name. I was very much confused. So please, I would love for you to share your the story of the name Lusso.
And thank you so much for asking. Lusso means luxury, and it translates to be Italian. I chose an Italian word in homage of my late mother. Italy was her favorite country. My mom loved to study wines, and Italian wines were her favorite. So when it came time for me to select a name for my brand, I actually was in college at the time. I didn't even have my business yet, but I was ready to start my LLC. Just a little tip, a little nugget from the business coach. If you're thinking about starting a business, start an LLC today so that you can show some time in business even before you've started operating. So while I was in college, my sophomore year, I opened my LLC in anticipation that I would soon have a business one day. And I decided to name it Lusso Salon, Luxury Salon, in homage of my mother.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
And so now we've had all the other Lussos spin from that, Lusso Sweets
Yeah.
and Lusso Gives.
Just another way to infuse who you are
Yep.
into the brand. It's in the
Yep. Just
name.
another way. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to know a little bit about how you moved from, hey, I do hair to, girl, I can help you stand your whole business up.
Yes. Thank you for that question. So people ask me this a lot because it's like a spider web, right? Sometimes it doesn't really, we don't know where all of this came from. So I always say that business coaching fell upon me. Okay. And this was never a part of my original plan. So if ever that you are planning for your business and you're like, man, how did I get here? You are not alone. Let me tell you my testimony. So, business coaching for me came from being in the salon environment. You know, we like to talk. We like to get to, that's the place for advice, that's the place for counseling, that's the place for the trends, a recipe, all types of things. And so frequently, people would come to me and say, "Hey, I see what you've grown here. This is so cool. You've made this so successful. I have a business idea. Can I talk to you about it? I would love to know your advice on how I should do X, Y, and Z." And this began to happen so frequently that I found myself scheduling appointments to talk to people about their businesses and their ideas just so that they could pick my brain on how I would approach it if it were my business and my idea. And it got to the point where I was doing this maybe like a couple hours, maybe a week sometimes, or a couple hours a month. And I was like, wait a minute now. And then I started taking notes for each person. I had a little notebook with people's names on top and what their ideas were. Then we screen sharing and starting LLCs. And I had to take a step back and say, I am investing a lot of time in other people's projects. I found myself being asked to be on the board of certain things, and I was like, maybe this is something that I'm good at. Maybe this is something where I am able to help others, but then also offer as a service. So I said, okay, I'm gonna stop giving free advice all the time, and let me start seeing if I can take this seriously. So all of those people where I was kind of volunteering myself, I went to them and I said, "Hey, how would you like to be a test dummy? I would like to build a framework for business coaching that standardizes this a little bit, but keeps it personal, but makes it make sense. Can you help me with that while I help you with your business?" And so those first handfuls of people became my guinea pigs, really, for creating the Lusso brand business coaching services framework. And after I felt confident that I actually had a structure that worked and I had some examples of people who were successfully able to get off the ground, I was like, cool, now I can offer this to the public. And I began to transition my personal brand from hairstylist and salon owner to CEO and coach. That transition was difficult for me. Transparent moment, I'm gonna be honest. I started to feel like an elitist, or like,
Mm.
oh, I don't want people to look at me as if like, oh no, I'm not a hairstylist, I'm the owner. I never liked that. I always wanted to just be Morgan, just be, oh, Morgan, yeah, yeah. Most of our clients, I feel like at that point, didn't even know that I owned the salon. It wasn't until I stepped into this space of business coach and leader and CEO instead of stylist behind the chair. So that change in my personal brand was difficult for me, but I'm glad I've done it because it's allowed me to elevate the brand as a whole. It's allowed me to have the confidence and brand recognition that I needed to grow into multiple locations. But it all began with people asking for that advice.
Mm, interesting. I love that you embraced it.
It was
Let
hard.
me let me tell you why I love that. I to this day refuse to call myself a business coach.
It's hard, right?
I refuse to call myself a business coach. And I resonate with your story because your gifts, your talents just kind of automatically positioned you, right? For me, I was always a writer. And so my friend was like, "Hey, can you fix up my resume for me?" "Yeah, I got you." "Oh, this is trash. I got you. Let me fix this," right? And did my boyfriends at that time, did another friend, a friend of friend, all these people I was just doing for free because I was good at it. And one guy was like, "You are really good at this. You should charge." I'm like, "That's not a thing, dog. What you talking about? I can't charge for no resumes." This was back in the day. Um, I Googled it. Definitely a thing. People
Definitely a
were
thing.
paying big bucks. I was like, "Oh, this is a thing." And that's how I got started, right? And so over time I got like exceptionally good at it. Like media, books, awards, all the things. And people were like, "Hey, can you mentor me?" Other resume writers, "Can you mentor me? Can you mentor me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I could, yeah, I can help you," you know. And I ended up starting a whole membership, child. And I rebranded as Mel the Mentor, and I built a community of like 300 resume writers, helping them with their business. And to this day, I never call myself a business coach, but that's exactly what I was doing.
That's exactly what you were doing.
I was helping them make their first 10K months and helping them, with their writing skills, all the things. But I just, for some reason, I had this resistance on embracing the term business coach. I don't know why, but yeah. So I think a good lesson for the audience to take away is like your gifts will position you without you having to do much. Just pay attention to what people are coming to you for. Pay attention to the questions that are constantly being asked of you, and then see how you can monetize that thing.
Absolutely. I think it's nothing but God for me, right? That sometimes you'll be shown, and for me, I'm always praying for patience. Lord, help me be more patient. And then I became a business coach,
Mm.
needing the most patience ever with the people who are coming to you for help, right? So I do think that everything that we position ourselves into is meant for our journey for some reason. It's either for us to learn or for us to impact others. So starting just one humble little hair salon, subleasing from a different person to two locations and counting, and being able to help other people start their businesses in all types of different industries. This was the path that I was meant for. And I think that we have to be willing to step outside of our comfort zones, or we could be missing a key part of our lives and how we're supposed to be living them.
Yep, that is 100% correct. Morgan, tell the people how they could connect with you.
Oh, yes. You can connect with me on Instagram. I'm super active there, Lusso CEO. And of course, we've been talking about personal branding this entire time. So please know that when you follow me on Instagram, you get me. That is actually me talking, that is actually me interacting back and forth with you. I love to get to know all of my clients and future clients. So please follow on Instagram, Lusso CEO, or you can find me on Facebook. My full name, Morgan-Elizabeth Chavis. You can find me on LinkedIn, Morgan-Elizabeth Chavis. And you can visit my website, thelussobrand.com. On there, you can see all of the things Lusso. You can order your copy of our book, Leap Off the Ladder. You can find different ways to connect with me or even book a discovery call for business coaching. All things there. Lusso CEO on Instagram and thelussobrand.com.
Love that. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about your book. Let's talk about the Leap Off the Ladder book for a quick second before we wrap up. What made you decide to write the book? Who is the book for? And what benefit would I get from reading your book? What do you tell? What do
Yes,
you tell us?
absolutely. So the book answers the question: how did you get the courage to leave a six-figure corporate career and work for yourself? I decided to stop climbing that corporate ladder, even though I was climbing it, and take a leap of faith for myself. The book is meant to inspire anyone and engage anyone who is looking to take a leap in their lives. Maybe it's also into entrepreneurship, maybe it's into something different. But it truly is an inspirational but practical guide on how I took my transition from corporate life to full time entrepreneurship. I talk about how I arranged my coins to get myself ready. I talked about how I arranged my time, how I arranged my spirit, and just how I got prepared. I also talk about some things that I did dramatically wrong, and hopefully you can avoid those things. So you can check it out on Amazon, Leap Off the Ladder, or you can order a signed copy on thelussobrand.com.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, for spending the time with us, for being who you are, for just having the courage to step out and do these things and help other people and make an impact. I love it. I love it so much. So
Thank you
listen,
for
guys.
having me.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support the podcast, all you have to do is subscribe. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. So go ahead and subscribe. Leave a rating. Leave a review. Share this with someone. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it out. Let somebody else get inspired from, Morgan's story. And remember, at the end of the day, this is about you showing up, right? The name of the podcast, the name of my program, the name of my course is Empowered Presence. Empowered is the authority to do something. Presence is the state or fact of existing. That means there is power in who you are. So just be who you are and show up accordingly. Everything else is going to fall into place. Until next time, y'all. Happy self-marketing.